Hello everybody, my name is Kara, and basically I just really love Dragon Prince, okay? So today I am so excited to be announcing a Dragon Prince Minithon. I know that there have been a lot of kind of announcement videos from me going up lately. I've been trying to space them out with some other content, but I hope that you're not too tired of them yet. Or if you are, I understand. I'll see you on the other side. But I just am very passionate about a lot of things, and it happens that all of them are happening at the same time, so I think that's a great problem to have. So before I get into the details, I have to mention my wonderful co-host, who is Yvette from Book Cave. She's just one of my favorite people. She is so lovely. Her channel is wonderful. She is the place to go for so many different kinds of recommendations, especially queer lit and Latinx books. I will link her channel down below. I have talked about her many times before, and she is just fantastic. And one of the things that we talk a lot about is Dragon Prince and how much we both love that show. It is a Netflix original show, and I am just so in love with it. It's probably one of my favorite ongoing shows, possibly just favorite shows overall. It was recently announced that the third season is going to be coming out on November 22nd. It will be available to stream, which I was so excited about, and I thought that would be a perfect time to kind of bring up this show more and to talk about it more, because even though I think a lot of people have heard of it probably, I don't feel like it gets kind of the hype that I think it deserves and that other people think it deserves as well. And the reason we are calling this a Dragon Prince Minithon instead of Readathon is because it's part challenge and part tag and part just inspiring people to talk about the show and watch the show or rewatch the show, basically just to support this really amazing TV series so that it hopefully continues on, because the creators have talked about how they have a 7-season arc planned for the show, which sounds wonderful, and I really want them to get renewed for the whole 7 seasons so we can find out what happened and we get like a full kind of closure to the story. And we're also calling it a Minithon because it's really short. It's only November 22nd through the 25th, so basically the length of a long weekend. We wanted this to be really chill and not like stressful at all, especially since a lot of us are already doing other readathons or projects. There's only 3 challenges and they're all optional, and that you can easily combine them all and just do one book for all of them, just pick one challenge to do, completely ignore the challenges. Like, we want this to be really laid back. And to that end, we're actually not doing an official Twitter account, but we are going to ask you to use, I think the hashtag that the show has been using is just Dragon Prince or The Dragon Prince. I will definitely put that information in the description box. But if you are joining in, if you have a TBR, if you are just talking about the show, we encourage you to use that to really give the show more visibility. And like, that's one of the things that I think the showrunners or Netflix or whoever makes those decisions tends to look at, is community involvement and how vocal people are about wanting the show to continue. If you are already a fan of the show, make sure you tune in on November 22nd, and I think that's one of the things that looks really good for numbers, is if people start watching it on release day. So if you have the time and ability to do that, we definitely would recommend doing that. If you haven't seen the show but you've been meaning to, then now is a great time to start, catch up on the first couple of seasons before November 22nd when the third one comes out. I know I'm going to be trying to rewatch the first couple seasons if I have time to do that. And finally, if you haven't watched the show and you're not sure if you'd be into it, I have a video coming up soon that's going to be 5 reasons to watch The Dragon Prince, because I think a lot of people could really enjoy this show. I think it's one of those that really transcends kind of genres and categories and like types of viewers. And also, if it helps at all, the people who created Avatar: The Last Airbender TV show, several of them are directly involved in this one too, and I think it shows. I think it's just a wonderful show. So as I mentioned earlier, Yvette and I have kind of combined a couple of different ideas that are like bookish and also related to The Dragon Prince, and I will put timestamps down below in case only one of them applies to you or you're only interested in one of them. But basically, we have a really short tag, only 3 questions, and a really short series of challenges, only 3 challenges. Again, we want this to be very low stress and just to be kind of a fun way to remind people that The Dragon Prince is around and it is wonderful. So the first challenge is based on the fact that Dragon Prince has amazing diversity and representation in the show, and that is to read an Own Voices fantasy book. Challenge number 2 references the fact that this is the 3rd season out of hopefully many more to come, and that is to read the next book in a series. And finally, challenge number 3 references the fact that it is an animated TV show, and that is to read any book with illustrations. So that can be manga, graphic novel, comic book, picture book, even a book with a map in it. Yvette and I are really excited about these challenges. I believe that she is including her TBR as part of her announcement video, which I will of course link as soon as that is up. I will have my TBR in a separate video, so keep an eye out for that. And now moving into the tag questions. Number 1, like The Dragon Prince, middle grade can be, and often is, enjoyed by a wide range of people. Share a middle grade book you think is especially well suited to being enjoyed by readers of all ages. And I have a couple options for this one, depending on what kind of book you are in the mood for. And the first one is one I read very recently, and that is More to the Story by Hayna Khan. This is an Own Voices Muslim book, and it is also a kind of retelling or loosely based on the story of Little Women. So it takes some of the character traits and kind of overall events in the plot and kind of reframes them in a modern day setting with an all-Muslim cast. I just love this book so much. I think it does a phenomenal job of really fleshing out all of these characters characters. One of the things I really love about middle grade, or about good middle grade at least, is something I love when I come across it in any book, and that is the fact that the young characters and the adult characters feel equally well developed. Even though, because it is a middle grade novel, you naturally spend more time getting to know the younger characters, I really feel like they all feel like real people regardless of their age. Our main character is Jamila, and she is the one who's sort of based on Jo March, and I just loved her as a protagonist. I felt for her so much. She's really excited about her new position at the newspaper, but she's also struggling with some challenges there, and her father then gets a job that is really far away from the family, so she's missing him, and she's trying to understand how that is affecting her family. And then one of her sisters also gets sick. So Jamila has a lot of things that she's dealing with, and I think that this book handled them in a really thoughtful way, and in a really mature way. Like, I think for younger readers reading this, I think it would be in a way that is very suited to them, but I also think as an adult reading this, it still really got to me. It still felt very honest and not like it was sugarcoating things, and I feel like the way Hina Khan was able to really get in Jamila's head and explore how she is feeling, how she is seeing these changes in her life. She's at that age between kind of being a really young kid and kind of getting into preteen or teen territory. So how does that affect the way that she sees people, that she interacts with some of her friends? I just think it was such a thoughtful book. I loved it. I made it through the whole book without crying, and then the last chapter, or like the epilogue, just broke me. But it was such a beautiful story, and I can't recommend it enough. And the other book I'm going to talk about is Tom's Midnight Garden by Philippa Pierce. This is a children's classic, I guess like a children's fantasy classic. I think this is like 60 years old or so. And this is about a young boy, Tom, who goes to visit his aunt and uncle, and he doesn't want to be there, but then he discovers that there's this magical garden that he can get to. And Tom starts to realize that he might have actually gotten transported back in time, that there's something strange about this garden that he is in, and he makes friends there. He makes friends with a girl named Hattie, and more as the book goes on, we see Tom wanting to stay in that past garden forever, and the things that he's trying to do to get that to happen. This is just such a beautiful story. I feel like it has this really lovely tone of warmth and humor and wit, but also a little bit of melancholy. Like, it's a little bit bittersweet, and I loved that. I think that's one of the reasons why this book would be very well suited for readers who aren't used to reading middle grade, because I think there's a tendency to think that with younger characters there's not as much depth of emotion, which is not true, and I think this book really showcases that beautifully, because Tom, you get to know him so well. He's such a wonderful main character to follow. He's really funny and clever, and he feels like a very believable kid, but in a way that as an adult you can still relate to him, which is not to say that children's books have to be relatable to adults, but I think in this case this one is. And I loved his friendship with Hattie. I loved the atmosphere and the feeling of this book. I've mentioned before that The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett is one of my favorite novels of all time, and I did get a little bit of Secret Garden vibes from this one, but I also think it totally stands on its own. The writing I loved so much as well. Like, there are just so many things about this book, and it's really stuck with me. Like, I read it a couple months ago, and I'm already kind of in the mood to reread it. Like, I just really, really loved this book. And I think it would be a phenomenal place to start if you maybe haven't tried middle grade in a while, or if you are a middle grade fan already, this one is amazing. Number 2, some of the basic plot elements of The Dragon Prince are familiar and much loved fantasy tropes. Share a book with a common trope or plotline that you love anyway. Maybe it's done in a creative way, maybe the book just unapologetically embraces the trope, etc. And once again, I have 2 answers for this one. Even when I do a short tag, apparently I can't do short answers. But I picked one that's a trope I really love, and one a trope that I tend to stay away from that I think was done amazingly well. And the first one is Aisha at Last by Uzma Jalaluddin. This is a modern day Pride and Prejudice retelling, and it's set in Canada. Once again, we have a main cast that are almost all Muslim. It's really wonderful that we're starting to see those stories told more in these different genres. And this is such a wonderful book. And the very familiar trope that I think this one really excels at is kind of the hate to love. I mean, you have a retelling of Elizabeth and Darcy's relationship, so of course there's going to be some amazing hate to love there. But it's a trope that I pretty much will never get tired of, and it's a trope that I still manage to find books that surprise me with, and this was one of the ones that I loved so much. I think the reason that Aisha and Khalid don't get along at first is very understandable, and their scenes together are so good. Like, I love the way that even when it's not a scene that you would expect to be very romantic or filled with a lot of tension, it really is, because these characters just have such good chemistry with each other. And I just loved so many things about this book, and I highly recommend it. And the other book I want to talk about is one I just mentioned in a recent wrap-up, and that is The Weight of Feathers by Anna Maria McLemore. I think a lot of us know by now that McLemore is one of my favorite authors ever, and this was actually her first published novel, and I was a little wary about reading it because this is a, like, star-crossed lovers kind of story. Like, I wouldn't say it's a Romeo and Juliet retelling or anything. I think I've seen it occasionally marketed that way, and I don't think that's what it is, but it does play off that very familiar, like, 2 families that hate each other, and then the younger generation gets to know each other and starts to fall in love. And that's not something I tend to gravitate towards, but I think this book did it so beautifully. Like the way that you see Lace and Cluck slowly start to get to know each other and to take down those assumptions they have about each other's family and each other's culture. Lace is Latinx and Cluck is actually Romani, and we really see the prejudices and stereotypes that they have bought into about the other group of people and how those start to come down and they start to understand each other better. And I think that's one of the reasons I loved it so much, is because it wasn't just a story about two star-crossed lovers falling in love. It was about two families or two groups of people coming to understand each other and to treat each other with compassion and to realize that they were wrong to treat people this way. So it's just such a beautiful story that explores a lot of themes like that while also having really wonderful individual character development as well. And I will never again doubt Anna Marie McLemore. I think all of their books have just been amazing, and this one was no exception. And finally, the third question is to talk about one of your favorite moments from the show. Spoiler free, please. Or if not, you can just talk about something from the show that you enjoy overall. And one of my favorite things from The Dragon Prince is the importance of family relationships and the variety of family relationships that we see. We see really close sibling relationships. We see like step siblings and step family and how those bonds are also like equally important. We also see the complicated, messy family relationships, people misunderstanding each other or people fighting. I just think that the focus on family in this show is so good, and family in many different forms. Okay, everybody, so that is it for my Dragon Prince Minithon announcement. I know there are a lot of really wonderful challenges and readathons and, you know, projects going on right now, as it always seems to be in the booktube community, or book blogging community in general. So I understand if you guys have a lot on your plate right now. That's one of the reasons why Yvette and I really wanted to keep this very low key. We wanted to make it easy to stack with other challenges you're doing if you would like to. And yeah, we want this to just be really chill and just a way to show some love for this show, because I really do think it is a fantastic one. I think it's doing so much important work. I think it's just fun too on top of that, and there are just so many things about it that I love. And that's why I want more people to watch it and enjoy it. Please let me know if you guys are going to be participating in any capacity in this little mini-thon. All of the details on the mini-thon will be listed in the description box, so if you have any questions about it, just check there. And as for who I'm going to tag, I will of course tag my co-host Yvette from Book Cave. I'm also going to tag Kelly from Cozy Reader Kelly, because I always love her middle grade recommendations. I think she could have some great ones there. I'm also going to tag Julia from Shakespeare and Such. I would love to know her middle grade recommendations as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!